Welcome back to BWO Daily, your source for news in sports entertainment and the world of professional wrestling from your boys at Busted Wide Open. My name is Nick Howell.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. And Nick, buckle up because we have to continue our story from yesterday. We said yesterday that David Starr, independent wrestler, is being accused of sexual assault, emotional manipulation, and just generally being not a nice person. And we noted at the end of our news show yesterday that it seemed like there was a groundswell happening, that a lot more women were becoming comfortable and braver in talking about stories that they had, and that there seemed to be a pervasive culture going on in wrestling as a whole, but seemingly starting with the British wrestling scene is where it seemed to be swelling from, and that it seemed to be growing. Well, that's absolutely the case. Today, the hashtag speaking out is trending, and there are dozens and dozens of women and men too telling stories of abuse in the wrestling business. And it's expanded from Britain across the pond, internationally, everywhere, and the accusations are flying right and left. We do know that the women in the British wrestling scene are teaming up and trying to compile a list of names of known sexual predators, abusers, sex pests. And as of right now, that list includes, we don't have the actual list, but we just based on looking at the tweets, we know that Jimmy Havoc has multiple accusations leveled against him. Joey Ryan, Justin Roberts, the announcer for AEW, has an accusation against him. NWA VP David Lagana is being accused of assault. In the British scene, El Ligero, Wolfgang, Joe Coffey, Jack Gallagher. Over here, Marty Skrull, Dave Christ, Michael Elgin, which we've known about for a while. He's had accusations leveled against him for a few years now, but they're resurfacing again. One of the wilder ones that's come out is actually Jim Cornette and his wife Stacy are being accused of basically telling wrestlers at OVW that they wanted to get ahead, they had to perform sexual favors for Jim Cornette's wife. Now, again, that's an accusation at this point, but a number of wrestlers have come out and said that they could speak to this. So that is a developing story right there that might even be its own story at the end of all this, because that just sounds wild. As of
one that stands out right here, Lagana and Cornette with the double whammy of racism and sexual predatory behavior. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
That's a little NWA connection right there, unfortunately. The West Yorkshire Police have confirmed to the BBC that they are carrying out initial inquiries following these allegations in the UK pro wrestling community. So the law is getting involved on some of these because some of them are pretty serious. In addition, in the British scene today, Progress Wrestling has stripped Jordan Devlin and Scotty Davis, who have been accused of the tag team titles, and put the two of them on indefinite leave. Referee Mark Paz Perry and Travis Banks have also been let go. Progress released a statement. They said the last couple of days feel like a watershed moment for the British wrestling scene. Stories being bravely told about abuse that has been suffered within the wrestling business are heartbreaking and eye-opening. We stand with you and we hear you. Please keep speaking out. We have spent today consulting with trusted colleagues within the wrestling business about how we can improve our work environment and make it safer for all involved, talent, crew, and fans. These have been incredibly positive discussions, and we are excited to get to work making them reality. It will take time, but as a wrestling community, we can clean this scene up and make it better and safer.
Right.
So it sounds like Progress, as well as several other British companies, are looking at the culture as a whole and saying, okay, we have to change this systemically, and not just looking at one or two people and saying, oh, you guys, did something wrong. You need to, fix yourselves or work on getting better or apologize or whatever the next step would be. They're looking at the entire culture and saying it's a cultural thing as well as just a personal thing. So as far as, those Progress wrestlers I mentioned, two of them, Nick, work for the NXT UK scene, and several of the other ones that are being accused work for AEW and WWE. Banks himself is accused of having a secret and emotionally abusive relationship with a 17-year-old, Millie McKenzie. So she actually outed him about that and has the text. So that's not looking good for him. Other WWE wrestlers that have been accused include Matt Riddle. He and Jordan Devlin are both under the gun right now. WWE released a statement specifically on those two wrestlers saying, "We take any allegation of this nature very seriously and are looking into the matter." Neither Riddle nor Devlin have released statements. Devlin is actually accused of being physically abusive to an ex. Apparently, he caused bruises on her lower body, which she shared on Twitter, on her legs. She said there was more, but she didn't want to share it because she didn't fancy posting them online because they were in more sensitive areas. She said Jordan Devlin did that to her, and it's just the physical damage, not including emotional, obviously, would be the implication there. So Devlin being accused of some very serious crimes. And in addition, Matt Riddle is accused of forcible sexual contact with Candy Cartwright, who was a valet in Evolve when they both worked there. She's also a wrestler with Shine.
Right.
Her accusation details being in a van with him with 3 other wrestlers who were asleep and him propositioning her for sex, her saying no, and then him saying that he would force her to, and she ultimately performed a sexual act on him in order to calm him down. She does say that they had been together before that, so it wasn't like it came out of the blue, but at the same time, it was still him forcing himself on her. There are other aspects to this as well. Riddle's wife has said online that this is not true. She says, quote, "She is seriously a psycho-obsessed person, so much to the point where we almost got a restraining order against her last year, and Matt had to change his number twice." Matt Riddle also apparently had an interview with an interviewer whose Twitter name @OldAthers. He deleted an interview with Riddle, and Riddle apparently got in his DMs, and OldAthers released the DMs where Riddle said, quote, "Why does anybody lie? She has been harassing me for years. I've had to change my number 3 times and almost got a restraining order against her, but I didn't want to ruin her career. My lawyer and WWE are already in motion to press charges for defamation and cyberstalking/bullying. But believe who you want, bro. Why listen to logic or facts?" And apparently Old Athers wrote back, "I'm not your bro." So lots of stuff still in the air. It's way too early to play detective and try to figure out this he said, she said game. Obviously, at this point, we are just listening to accusers at this point, believing them and having to parse everything going forward. But the fact that there is so much coming out is horrifying when you think about the smoke to fire ratio that must be in the culture as a whole. So a lot of people are already hailing this as a watershed moment. And I can only imagine going forward, this is going to get worse before it gets better, Nick.
Yeah. And again, I don't want us taking obviously we're on the position here of always taking care of stuff, but our job here is to report findings, and a lot of this is coming off of Twitter. So I guess what I'm saying is, we're reporting on what we have access to.
Exactly. Yeah.
We don't have access to hard lists and detailed affidavits and any of that kind of stuff. We're absorbing all of this and giving you a sort of roundup of what's coming.
What we're
out.
seeing.
Yeah.
What we're seeing, and trying to remain unemotional about it, because that's
the hardest part.
Very disturbing.
I am trying not to have an emotional reaction to everything you just told me.
Right.
And that's going to be hard to do, but if I can tell anybody anything, it is, if you're not involved, don't involve yourself.
Support, those who are being brave, and just, at the same time, keep your eyes open, basically. There's a lot more coming, I can tell you. This may be our news story for the rest of the weekend and into next week. This is going to be a developing story. There's more that's going to come out. We still don't have the full list of 70 names. We still don't know a lot of the details of these accusations that are happening. And also, to be clear, there's a lot of accusations that are being made against people who you don't know their names.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot where they're specifically not being named because they don't want to make them famous, and they don't want to make a big story out of it, just telling the story of what happened, not who it happened because of. So the fact that all of those stories are out there is just skin crawling that it's that pervasive and there's that much of it. So I will say this to end on somewhat of a positive note. There are a lot of wrestlers who are out there being supportive of everything that's happening right now. The releasing of all this information and the strength that it takes to talk about this kind of thing. Wrestlers like Pete Dunne, who has obviously been a stalwart of the British scene and is right now stepping forward and saying that, he's down for fundamental change and is disgusted by what he's seeing. Big E, Bailey, Mustafa Ali, Paige, Keith Lee, the Iconics, Tucker, amongst others. Those are the WWE, those sort of big visible stars that are speaking out. There's also dozens and dozens of smaller stars speaking out and people that are helping facilitate women coming forward and speaking about this. So, so there is a support network in place right now. But as we said, more to come. And it's already looking bad, but it could get worse.
Yeah. Hate to have back-to-back downer kind of shows, but this is what's going on in the industry, and we want to keep you guys up to speed and knowing what's going on out there. So
I don't even have a birthday to say happy birthday to end on a happy note today. I can't even end on a happy note.
It just doesn't feel fair anyway to celebrate happy birthdays while all of this is going on. So if you have a birthday today, happy birthday. But this is much bigger news. And I agree. This is totally a watershed moment. It's needed to come out for decades. It's needed to be exposed for decades, because as much as you want to have the women's evolution revolution, as much as you want to have the PG era, as much as you want to have these kinds of movements and charitable causes and philanthropic efforts and all of those things, there is this dark underbelly of all of this stuff that has still persisted. And I feel like we always kind of roll our eyes sometimes at some of the efforts that are going on the surface externally that are seen, knowing that a lot of this stuff still exists. So if anything positive comes out of this, in my opinion, it's that demon gets slain finally, and we can move forward. It's going to suck. It's going to suck. It already does suck, hearing some of the names that you've talked about being accused of these things. And
it's going to suck for the women who have to, to speak about it and relieve all that pain and everything else. Like, it's going to suck all around. Oh yeah.
More importantly,
right.
Let me finish there. More importantly, it sucks that it's taken this long for it to be comfortable enough for the women and the victims of these abuses to be able to speak out in a way. We've gone through a lot of changes as a global society in the last decade, and I think we're finally getting to the point, hopefully, where we can eradicate this kind of behavior, the fact that we have to hide it, the fact that people have to not feel comfortable coming out about it. I want all of that kind of stuff to be gone. And it feels like a cancer that's in a thing that we love. And I want it to be gone forever, for good. So that's really all and again, like you said, we're probably just getting started here.
Yep.
There's going to be stuff that's going to get dug up deep.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that's been swept under the rug for years.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, the Michael Elgin stuff we knew about years ago, and you and I have been down on him ever since. But seeing how much more there is just, it's horrifying. So
yeah, it is. So that's the news, guys. Thank you very much for watching BWO Daily. We hope you guys have a fantastic weekend in light of this news coming out over the last 24 hours as we've reported here on the channel. But make sure you're subscribed so you get any updates. We'll be back tomorrow with our live show, recapping what went on in AEW, NXT, and SmackDown later tonight. And we'll be back on Monday, with a new episode of BWO Daily and hopefully some better news and some updates of what's going on around the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. So make sure you subscribe to the channel down below, jingle your little notification bell, jump into the Discord and the rest of our social media found in the description below. But my name is Nick Howell. You can find me on Twitter at DataCenterDude.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Ian Dangerous.
And we will see you guys next time.